We're joined in studio by Mail and Guardian Editor-in-Chief Chris Roper. Chris is here to discuss the newspaper's decision to release key findings of the Public Protector's provisional report on the very controversial Nkandla upgrades. Welcome to studio, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So, just a few minutes ago, the Public Protector released a statement to say that provisional reports are confidential and publishing them is unethical and unlawful. What's your response?
Well, every single report from the Public Protector has been leaked so far, so I would think she should probably look internally a little bit more carefully. But we went through a long process to decide to publish key parts of that report. Obviously, we aren't just publishing that report in isolation. We also had to go through a long legal battle to get the documents from the Nkandla report released to us using PIA. So we've gone through jumped through a lot of hoops to actually get that information. So the story we wrote is based on that information, the 12,000 pages that we managed to get from government, as well as some leaks from our office. We've spoke very carefully about this. We consulted multiple lawyers, and we believe it's not illegal and that there's an overriding public interest.
The obvious question is, why not wait until the report is finalized and it isn't just a provisional report like it is at this stage?
Well, the obvious answer is that if you've been reading the news, which I assume you have, there have been so many attempts to squash this report and to squash parts of this report. The latest from the security cluster generals, for example, security cluster ministers. So they themselves are putting massive pressure on the Public Protector's office to not publish this report, or at least to redact loads and loads of it. So we felt that it was in the public interest for people to actually have a look at this key parts of this report right now and make a decision. And it's a bit strange as well. I mean, this is normally the way these things work. You have the prosecution advancing evidence, and then a person puts up their defense. So it's not as if this is not something that's usual in the South African landscape. So basically we think we need to get the stuff out there before other parties perhaps successfully manage to squash parts of it.
Let's unpack the public interest issue a little bit further. In an editorial released with the newspaper, you said, "Our duty is to our readers and to the broader South African public. We are determined to ensure that they have the benefit of the unvarnished truth." Could you just unpack that a little bit for us?
Well, again, it speaks to your earlier question, which is that we have our doubts that we will be getting the unvarnished truth. We think that South Africans deserve to know the truth. And remember, the truth is not what we're saying. We're not saying our interpretation of the facts should be taken as the de facto truth. We're putting the facts in front of people and saying, you make your own decision. I mean, there's some extraordinary things in that report. The fact that a swimming pool, which was budgeted for R500,000, suddenly shot up to 2.6 million rand because they had to build a parking lot around it, and now they're claiming that, well, the architect is claiming that that swimming pool is there for firefighting purposes. I mean, this is ludicrous stuff. This is stuff that people need to know. If you're claiming that a swimming pool is a security issue, then, I have grave doubts about what else you're claiming.
Absolutely. So talk us through some of the discussions that happened in the newsroom just to make that decision to publish this report that's become very controversial.
Well, we have all the same concerns that everybody else has. It's just our decision has been to publish parts of that report that were leaked to us. Remember, we haven't published that report, just parts of it that already speak to things we have in documents which we've obtained through PIA. The first port of call is always the lawyers to see if there's a legal defense and if it's legal to do this. We don't want to break the law. Just in some cases, as you'll know, journalism demands that you take some risks. So, we were pretty confident that we were within our rights to do this, and that it was in public interest. And then, there's the way you tell the story as well. You don't want to come across as, as some kind of witch hunt. So we just want to put the unvarnished facts in front of people. There's no interpretation around, whether there's right or wrong involved in this. It's purely, these are the facts. This is what Nkandla says is right or wrong. For example, she's asked that Zuma be censured in Parliament. That's a fact. Whether you agree that he should or shouldn't, that's up to you.
In light of the recently signed secrecy bill, how do you think government's going to react?
Well, I should possibly wait for them to react rather than go on record and allow them more ammunition to react with. So,
fair enough.
I think any reasonably informed viewer of News 24 will understand how the government is going to react, or parts of the government anyway. I mean, I don't think the government is this monolithic institution where everybody's going to react in the same way, but certainly, I think we can expect some pretty aggressive calls from Mac Maharaj in the very near future, if not, while I'm actually on camera.
Most likely, you've probably got a few missed calls on your cell phone.
I hope that I missed.
Now, let's chat a little bit more about the secrecy bill. Did it influence your decision to publish anything?
Well, the Manor Garden is a major player in the attempts to get that secrecy bill more in line with what we think is constitutional. So we're an active part of the Right to Know campaign. So we are very actively involved in that. Certainly, I don't see that as a journalist you can allow. If you truly believe that something is in the public interest, you can't allow fears around possible litigation. Once you've checked that you can reasonably be expected to have it decided this is a legal thing to do, you can't really allow fears around that to stop you publishing.
Well, we think what you did was very brave. Thank you very much for joining us in studio today.
Thank you. And I'm very happy to say that I couldn't find a copy of the Manor Garden on the streets in Cape Town today. So, it certainly has helped sales as well.
To find out the latest news on the Nkandla upgrade, visit news24.com and look at the Nkandla upgrade hot topic.